Why is it so important to combine your energy and your mindset along with your physical health when you're trying to conceive? And what is a spiritual approach to fertility? And how can you go beyond all the test results and all the statistics and actually listen to what it is your body needs at this time? On today's episode, I am speaking with a special guest who will answer all these questions and more. This is one of those beautiful conversations that shows you how to perfectly combine the science with the spiritual as you're trying to conceive.
Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends both science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Here each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so you can stop stressing that you'll never have a baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I have a super fun episode for you today. My guest, Lindsay Goodwin, is a renowned specialist in holistic fertility who blends the power of neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, with hypnotherapy and spiritual fertility practices alongside the latest in reproductive medicine. With over 12 years of expertise as a licensed health provider in reproductive medicine, acupuncture, and herbal medicine, Lindsay offers a really unique and empowering approach tailored to support your fertility journey. Her success stories speak volumes. She's consistently helping individuals and couples achieve their dream of parenthood, even in the most challenging cases. Lindsay has such a beautiful energy about her, and I loved this conversation. We go deep into the energy and the mindset work. We talk about spirit babies, connecting to your intuition, and so much more. I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. So let's get started. Here is Lindsay.
Lindsay, thank you so much for being here with me today on the podcast. I'm so thrilled to talk to you. We have some super juicy topics to get through today. So big welcome. Can we start by learning a little bit about you? What is the work that you do and how did you get to do this kind of work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show today, Jen. I'm really excited to be here and share with your listeners. And so about me, well, it's really interesting. I got started in fertility in a very unique way. Actually, I started as an acupuncturist and I still do some acupuncture and Chinese medicine, but it definitely has grown quite a bit since I started as an acupuncturist. And so I did not want to treat fertility in women's health. It wasn't really something that I really wanted to do. And then I just started getting a lot of patients that were fertility and women's health hormones, some really unique cases of stuff that was just very, very unique. And now looking back on it, the universe was showing me exactly what I needed to do. And so I do focus a lot on fertility. I would say probably 30 to 35% of my work is fertility, but I also help people in general through traumatic situations, really helping them to change their subconscious mind beliefs and really manifesting to be in alignment with the power that's within all of us. And so fertility ties into that because our body really responds to what our mind is telling it. And so science has actually shown that where our biology will actually change based on emotions like stress and anxiety and worrying and feeling not supported. And so these are really powerful. So we do see a connection with both sides of this unseen sort of energetic energy with also science. So my story is so long. I could do an entire podcast on it. But what is most rewarding for me working in fertility is that, I don't actually have kids myself, but I consider myself a mother because I help bring in so many babies into the world that they need to be here. And I understand the physical body and how that really works. So I can really help people at that level. But also it's the energy dynamics of really being able to move out of the way what could possibly be blocking these souls from incarnating into physical bodies. And so what we're actually seeing now is that I'm definitely digressing here. You asked me one question and I'm giving you a lot of information, which is typical of me. But what is interesting is that the souls that are coming in now, that they are very high vibrational. They're very coded to be this very high energy and consciousness and really understanding and teachings of where our consciousness is going as humans. And so our bodies need to be ready to handle as a container, as a vessel, these souls that are incarnating in. So there's definitely a physical dynamic here, but there's such an energy component that's much bigger than the physical, because the physical body will always follow what is going on energetically, because everything starts with energy. So it's most rewarding to me is that being able to have people have the families that they want, but also these souls coming in that are really helping humanity and allowing them to really enter into this physical experience. It's such a gift to be here in a physical body. So, with that being said, I'm also a spirit baby medium as well as a spiritual fertility expert. And I can talk more about exactly what that means, because I think that a lot of people hear that and they're intrigued, but they don't really know what that means. As well as I'm a reproductive medicine expert, so I integrate science into that. So more on the alternative medicine side, holistic. My programs are very holistic actually, because they're looking at all directions. But I understand science. I understand people going through IVF. I've worked with some tons of patients over the years, clients over the years, going through fertility treatments like IVF, IUIs, other fertility assisted treatments, as well as I just understand how the body works. I understand how hormones work. And then you tie that into, I'm also a medical intuitive, tie that into just how the energy is functioning. And we see that that's the body will follow that. And we see that, for example, with progesterone, how progesterone will actually be greatly affected and become very low when people are really stressed out, same as FSH. And so I've seen that quite a bit, where I'll do an FSH test on a client, and then we'll do some mind body work as well as doing maybe some acupuncture, and have their FSH tested again. And it's gone way down because stress has a huge impact on it, as well as egg quality. So that's another thing too. So but I had a spiritual awakening. I can definitely talk about that. I love sharing. I just love sharing inspiration and stories with those that are experiencing a fertility journey, but also might be kind of lost and not really knowing where to turn next. And there's always hope. If you're still here, there's always hope. There's
Mm,
always a way forward.
isn't that so true? And you're right, it is such a combination of the physical and the spiritual when you are trying to conceive, isn't it? Because we can do all the tests in the world and we can go through all the best treatments with the best doctors, but sometimes there's just this element of you can't put your finger on it. It's so much greater than just our physical body. And you're right, we don't tend to think about the sort of the journey of the baby. We always think about, it's my body, I need to get pregnant now, I need to have this baby now. It's not, well, is it the right time for this baby to come through? They're their own little soul and their own little life that have their own plan and their own timeline. And I do believe that we need to align with them as well. So what would you say that you find is missing when people come and work for you? And, perhaps they've gone through several rounds of treatment, and what is missing in their path to success?
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty unique to the story, but I would say if I could kind of group it all together, it would be probably the mind body connection. I feel that, if, for example, we'll just use an example of someone's going through fertility treatments. I've worked with a lot of doctors. I know how they work and they're very good at what they do. I mean, of course, there's bad seeds in every group, but most doctors, I would say that they're trying, they're doing what they're trained to do. And, really this mind body connection is left out of it. And of course, they're referring patients out, ones that believe in that, but there's still a lot of them that don't believe in it. They just completely believe in science. And if science worked with everything, then why does it fail? That's always my question, is that if it was 100% and knew everything, everything, then why does it fail? Because I think 99% of what really truly exists is not in the physical. And so we can't possibly say, oh, well, I can prove everything. No, you can't. You can't prove everything. And so, really, where humans are actually going in our evolution, connected to the greater consciousness of all it is, like we're not separate from that, is that we're really becoming more connected to the energy and versus being connected to what's outside of us and really looking for those answers within. And so it's not about just one way of looking at things. It's about a perspective, and it's perspective that's unique to you. So I think that with all this being said, it just has become very apparent to me early on, and this was years ago. I mean, things are very different now, that my clients would just come to me and they would be in tears and they would feel like no one's listening to them and that they're not getting the right testing. And for example, doctors will try to test your progesterone on day 3 with all the other hormones, but that's not when you test that's not when you're testing to check the see if a patient is ovulating. That's probably one of the reasons why they're coming to you if they've been trying to get pregnant for a while, is they want to know about ovulation. And when you're testing your progesterone on day 3, you're not getting an accurate read. So it's things like that. And I wouldn't say an IVF clinic would do that. They'd probably be more like a gynecologist, which is very different than a fertility specialist. And so it's just it's advocacy. It's really being able to advocate for people and help lead them in the direction to get the answers that they need. And so that's missing, and people just feel at the mercy of these systems and that they really don't have a lot of choice, almost as if they're a number. And then, of course, if you're not doing fertility treatments and you've been trying for a while and you feel like no one's listening to you, or like I said, you're getting tests that are incorrect or you're not getting tested. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my patients over the years don't even get progesterone tested at all. And it's a very important hormone, and call it the pregnancy hormone. And it's ovulation hormone too, to really be able to gauge what's going on. And we have to be ovulating to get pregnant. And you can have a period and not be ovulating. That's a lot of misconception with a lot of people, is they think that, oh, I'm having a period, I'm ovulating. But for example, with people that have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, they will have periods, but not ovulate. So it's really, you have to have the right information and know what's going on with your body. So I'm a fertility advocate on the physical side and really helping people to understand the Western medicine side as well as holistic medicine. And also the mind-body connection, really helping you to clear emotionally, physically, energetically, anything that's hanging around energy-wise that could be blocking you from manifesting your baby in. Because the one thing about spirit babies is that they're not going to come in until you're ready. And it's also, you're like you said, Jen, it's also, they're on their own journey too. And so we have to remember that it's not just about you. It's not just about your partner. It's not just about your family. It's about what they want too. And the way that the universe works is it works on a system, not linear, but like it has codes, and astrology is part of that. And so astrology wise, we all want to have our energy linked up in a certain way because that helps us in our journey to be able to complete different tasks that we want to complete in that lifetime. And so our children are doing the same thing. So we have to respect that. And I know that that's hard because you're in a physical body and humans are very emotional creatures. We're designed to be that way. And so it's just learning to understand yourself in a way that you understand how to flow with the universe and universal law and enjoy the experience versus living through the ego mind. And I can talk more about that too, because I specialize in that too.
This idea of enjoying the process is such a hard one and such a foreign one for so many people, isn't it? You think, this is the worst thing I've ever been through. How could I possibly enjoy any of this journey? And I really think that bringing some joy back into your life is the key. It's like the first little step that you can take. It's the first part of getting out of the physical body and really incorporating some of these energetic and these mindset tools as well.
Can you talk about what that looks like? So what is that spiritual approach to the fertility journey? We've got the medical approach, we've got the food down pat, we've got the supplements. We can do all of that, but how do we bring in these more spiritual and mindset tools? What does that look like within our life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the one thing that I really drive with all of my clients, is that the power's within you and it's not outside of you. And so that can be hard when you've been trying and trying and trying. But I just said a word that's very powerful here, trying. So if we can figure out a way to know that it's happening for us versus being worried about if it's going to happen or not, then it will naturally show up. And releasing the struggle, releasing, trusting and having faith is the only way to manifest anything. And babies are manifestations. And so when I communicate with the spirit babies, they generally will communicate that my mom or my dad or my parent needs to learn how to love themselves more. Because self-love is something that we lose, and we generally lose it when we're very young because we're taught these patterns and we lose that infinite imagination that all of us are when we incarnate into this physical world. And so then trauma happens. And of course, a fertility journey is very much a traumatic trauma experience, especially when you've had multiple miscarriages. I've had clients over the years have stillborns, have to abort babies very late in the pregnancy because there was something wrong with them. I mean, very hard decisions. And so it's very hard when you go through things like that and then to say, well, gosh, how do I just let go? How do I release? Well, what I can tell you is there's no other way around it. You have to let go. And how do we do this? Well, we do this through healing. We do this through working together and really going inward and working on your energy and talking to your subconscious mind and doing hypnotherapy and resetting and using NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and really resetting those subconscious mind beliefs, as well as allowing trauma to actually come out of your physical body, out of your biology. And so there are different tools that I use. And with being an intuitive medium and spirit baby medium, that I also am able to understand things on an energetic level that are beyond just the subconscious mind. Because I read the body. That's what neuro linguistic programming is it's a lot of reading someone's body language and understanding what's going on internally within their mind and how their mind's communicating. But it's also, I read energy based on energetically when I'm seeing it might be their chakras. It might be if everyone knows what chakras are, the energy centers located in our spine. And so they connect to different emotions. And so it might be that. It might be that I receive some sort of download where I actually will visually see in my third eye something that comes in, or auditory, I might hear something. And so I receive messages that way too. So it is very unique what I'm doing because it's a connection of scientific techniques, but also the spiritual techniques. So what a session might look like with me, and well, one thing I have to say is that it's very unique to the person I'm working with. So I intuitively let the energies of maybe what I'm getting from the universe or what I'm picking up on them to really drive what techniques I'm going to use or how that session is going to go. And so, but I would kind of consider myself to be more of an intuitive medium that's also a life coach. Knows a lot about physical health too, a wellness mentor as well. That's really how my sessions go. Like you're getting a little bit of everything.
I love that so much. And I love this approach of it is so individual, and you don't get that when you go to a fertility doctor a lot of the time. I mean, you do in bits and pieces, but it's always like, let's run these tests, let's do these procedures. Like it just isn't as unique as I think it could be. And that's where you can bring in your own power and you've got the opportunity to really focus on what it is that you need, because nobody is like you. It's so individual. Can we talk a little bit more about spirit babies? This is one of those things that I love talking about. I find it comes up quite a lot with students, and it feels so out there and so woo-woo, and it is, but you can make it really tangible. You can make it really special and really, what's the word? Reassuring that you've got this beautiful little soul that's waiting to come through. So how can we connect to our spirit baby? What is the best way to start communicating with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a great question. Oftentimes people will start experiencing messages from their spirit baby and they won't even realize it. Some people do know what that is. And often, there are a couple of books that do talk about spirit babies. And so people will read those books and then they'll be curious. So they learn about what that is. But spirit babies are really unique because they will communicate. So essentially what they are is, like you said, souls. And so they're energy beings that are not in physical body, and they have chosen to have you be their parent. And so they get to choose, we all get to choose who's going to be our parents. And there are things that we will actually learn in our experience with those parents. And so I typically tell people that, most people actually have their children penciled in. So, penciled in meaning that you can choose to have the child or you can choose not to, or several children. And no one's mad about it. I often get that question. Well, if I don't want kids, are my spirit babies going to be upset about it? Absolutely not. And then you have those people that have it sharpied in, like it's blood, it's permanent marker, it's not coming out. And it's more of people that got the choice to have the kids or not. But they have contracts with these babies before they actually incarnate in to possibly, if they want to, if they choose to have them, then they're contracted in to do that. But it's okay if they don't. And so the other ones, yes, for sure it's happening. Like there's no way around it. And so, as far as communication goes, I mean, it could be, I often hear people, I can see a spirit baby in the aura before that actually will show up. They start communicating with me right away. And I always share the messages, whether I'm doing a spirit baby reading or not. If I'm doing some other sort of session with my client, I will definitely share messages as they come through. But generally, I mean, they're cute. Like, they most of the time are funny. They have very different personalities, just like we do. But the energy is very imagination, sort of like sometimes can be really silly. I have come across some spirit babies that were serious. That doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, they're pretty like lively and energetic, and they're showing me different things. And it's really interesting because I did a reading recently with someone, and her daughter that's Earth side actually was in the reading. So before I do a spirit baby reading, I do a deep hypnosis kind of like trance state on myself, and I start channeling and I record it. And so I go in really deep to get really strong answers. And then I share that recording with my client after we do the initial face-to-face or virtual session. And it's really interesting because this little girl came through, but she's in a body, but she was with her sister that's coming. That's not here yet, isn't Earthside, but they were like talking to me, and I thought for sure that she was gonna have. I didn't even think she had a child, the way that the reading was going of what I was seeing. So that was really interesting because I feel like that the siblings can communicate with the spirit baby too. And I've had that too, where I've had situations where the baby that is actually in the body will see the spirit baby and will talk about it and will point, or like different things that, in the environment that show that I have a little girl that I'm thinking of, that there was somebody else there, and the mom would tell me about it, and it's like, oh, that's her sister. And sure enough, her sister came along like a year later. So but they'll talk to you in many ways. It's colors, it's dreams, it might be butterflies, it might be birds. If you like oracle cards, there's specific ones for spirit babies that you can get. I mean, there's so many different ways they could communicate with you, but I think probably most of the time it's through dreams. And generally, I'll know that a client of mine is pregnant because of the dreams that they start having. And a lot of times they're about like water, or it could be dreams about them as a little girl, or they'll actually have dreams about the actual baby. So it's really fun. It's just we have to allow things in to be able to resonate with it. So, but anyone can resonate with the spirit babies. It's not, you just have to believe it, and it starts coming in. So once you start opening up to the infinite energies of spirit, then your life just really, it becomes much more exciting. So I think I have to sneeze. Maybe not, which would be a sign of spirit. When you, that's a sign, a confirmation from spirit.
Isn't that so funny? And do you find that connecting with spirit babies is the same as kind of aligning to those energetics of fertility? Is it all along the same kind of realm?
No, I mean, everything is connected. So, but for people to understand, I feel that they're not separate, but there's also parts of spiritual fertility. So, really, what spiritual fertility is it's the idea that you're more than just your physical body. So, even though, yes, you have a uterus, which is actually the womb space, and men have a womb space too. And the womb space really is a place of creation. So fertility is creating. Fertility can be a business, it can be a baby, it can be a relationship, it can be a better relationship with yourself, it could be an idea, a project. And so spirit, you're so much more than just the physical body. There's the uterus, but there's also this energetic uterus too that's happening, and it's creating all of the time. And the universe really is essentially like a uterus. Like it's everything. I know this sounds interesting and probably no one has ever thought about this. If someone has, I'm going to be really surprised, but I'm just going to say it. It's interesting because everything in everywhere actually comes out of a portal, which essentially is a vagina. And so in space, everything's a portal. Things grow out of the ground, they're portals. You know, everything is coming out of something, just like the birth canal. So it's really about thinking that that's about what spiritual fertility is. That's part of it, is understanding that you're constantly birthing and having creative ideas and in expansion of your family and healing, also new versions of yourself. And so the spirit baby is part of that because that's connecting with your future child or your child that's already connected to you. There really is no future because the moment creates the future. But it's also the idea that I'm this infinite energetic being that has the ability to create. And so I'm not just about my uterus. I'm not just about my ovaries. I'm not just about creating a physical being. I have to connect with that infinite part of myself first. And then my entire life gets better. And that's really what I'm about is that people often say, you help me manifest my baby, but you also help me heal my soul. Because that's what should be happening. Your journey, and so many people go through that fertility journey because there's something in it that's really giving them a connection to themselves. And it seems cruel when you're going through it, but I can't tell you how many times, especially people have been trying for years, that's what I mean, how many times people will actually say to me later on, years later, will say, I'm really glad I went through that because I had no idea who I was before that.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. And it's one of those things where at the time and in the moment,
it is impossible to see. And you can't be appreciative of the hardships and the trauma and all of the difficulties that come with infertility, because you don't want to be appreciative of any of that. It's awful to go through. But I do find that for most people, once they're on the other side, they can look back and say, I can see where that was leading me, and I can see how it changed me for the better. And I think you don't always have to be grateful for every difficulty that you went through, but maybe as your journey as a whole, it can make sense. I like to find just some comfort in it all making sense, as hard as it was. Can you talk a little bit about incorporating these kind of spiritual practices within to our days? Like, how can we start to listen to our intuition, know that it is the difference between our higher self guiding us and perhaps fear or the ego talking? How can we start kind of tuning in and tapping into those resources within us?
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Definitely love to talk about this. So the way that you're going to know whether it's your higher self, your intuition, that really rich part of you that there is no beginning and there is no end, the infinite source, is that it's a quick impulse, it's a feeling that you have that's fast. Now, when things you're starting to overthink things and you're like unraveling, it's like an unraveling, like if you have anxiety, it like unravels and you're like, whoa, how did I get to this place? All of a sudden I'm sweaty. I got like chest tightness, like what is going on? I feel like I can't control it, and it's because it unravels. And that is a sign that you're listening to your ego. So what daily practices can you do? you know, there's no other way to say it. I think that you have to get to a place where you almost can't be attached to anything. It's talking about the fertility journey. You would not have a desire to be a parent if there wasn't a version of you that was already a parent. So it's really clearing out of the way energetically within your subconscious mind, body, like all of the above, to be able to get yourself into the place energetically in your mind to be able to move to that higher version of yourself that has whatever it is that you're wanting. And so daily practice of what you can do, affirmations are really great. But what I have to say about anything that you're doing, whether that be affirmations or journaling, those are very popular, but a lot of times people don't actually believe it when they're writing or they're saying the affirmations. You have to actually believe what you're saying and you have to feel it in your body. I remember one of my guides years ago said to me, he said, you have to feel it in your solar plexus. You have to feel it because the solar plexus is really where you are. It's the human intuition. It's the gut feeling. It's your confidence. It's definitely a place of creation as well. And so it's like a powerhouse. And so you have to feel it there. And also your heart is a really great place to feel it too. Just to light this whole place, this whole center up right here in the heart and in the solar plexus. And when you're saying your affirmations or close your eyes and visualize, what does it look like to hold my baby? What does it look like to have my family together and maybe we're having dinner together? Or what does it look like to be standing in front of the mirror looking at my baby and my belly, like my big belly? Like when you start to visualize and you're doing this constantly and you're really feeling it in your body, you're making a connection with the physical, with the energy. And so when you make those two connections, that's how you create physical manifestation. So make sure that if you are using affirmations and journaling and you're doing meditations, that you're really connecting with what it is that you really desire to have in your life. Because if you don't do that, it probably is going to take a long time for it to show up. And so I wish that more, you watch a lot on social media, people talk about that. Oh, do affirmations, do meditation, do journaling, even about manifesting. And they're leaving out a valuable part that you have to believe in what you're actually saying or writing. You have to actually connect your body to it. And there's a philosopher that I really, really love that is, you might know of him, Neville Goddard. And he is just, that's all he talked about, is really connecting with the feeling of something, the power of the imagination. And so visualizations, the imagination. And so that's what we can do on a daily basis. And that's good for your soul. That's good for every part of your journey. It's not just about manifesting the child, because remember something. You manifest the baby, you bring the baby into the world, you're holding the baby. But what about being in the best version of yourself to be a parent?
That is so important. And we forget that, don't we? We think it's all about the pregnancy test and I've got to be pregnant. But then what? You've got the rest of your life to be a parent. And do you want to keep sitting in this sort of fear-based approach? And do you want to be letting anxiety run the show throughout your life? Because I can guarantee you, from everything I went through and from what I see with students every day, is that all your fears and your anxieties, they do not disappear when you are pregnant or when you have the baby.
Right.
They are going to keep coming and coming. And I really noticed the difference between when I had my first child to my second, and I hadn't done the work after I had my first child. And then that second journey was so much harder and so much longer and more difficult than the first. And I think there were some very, very big reasons for that. So can you talk a little bit about using fear? Because we can do the meditations and the affirmations, and we can get into this beautiful space and we can feel our future with our baby and it feels wonderful, but the fear comes back. It doesn't disappear when you're doing this work. And there is so much to be fearful of when you're going through infertility. So how can we use that and not be afraid of fear, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fear is a tool, it's there's really only two vibrations in the universe. You've got fear and you've got love. And so if you're not fearful and a little bit scared, I mean, I think on a fertility journey, you're probably a lot scared. But if you don't have some fear, then you're not doing something right. And so if you're too comfortable in your journey, you're not growing. And that's the whole reason why we incarnate into this environment, into this experience, is to be able to have an experience. You're an infinite being having a human experience. And so you have to just push through it. You have to barrel through the fear and know that, well, I have to put myself out of my comfort zone, because if I don't, then I'm never going to know what's on the other side of that. And so there's something really powerful about being able to transform in trauma and trauma experiences. And really, I was just talking to one of my clients today about this, about that, it just, some of us experience it more than others. And that's a question I often get is, well, why is it that someone that's a drug addict or an alcoholic can easily have a baby, but I can't? Well, it's because there's something in your journey that you wanted that's different than what those souls wanted. And so maybe they're not wanting to have the same, maybe you don't see all of what you are yet and what you've come into this life for yet. Maybe you're going to be a mentor later on in your life and you don't know that yet. Maybe you're going to be a mentor like you, Jen, for people that have experienced infertility, and that's why you went through what you went through. And that's why you're able to help people on such a deep level, because you understand what they're experiencing. And so we just don't always have all the pieces to how it's actually going to play out. And so fear is just a sign to you that you're going in unknown territory and you have to have faith and barrel through it. And the letdowns and I have a client I'm working with right now that before she did definitely didn't do this with me, but she's went through 7 IVF cycles. 7. And imagine going through that and having all of your embryos not make it every single cycle, and so I understand, like, it's hard but she still wants it. She's still going. She found me and is still going because she knows in her heart that this is meant for her. And I have to say that families don't always look the way that you think they're going to look. We have to accept that too. And I've had a lot of clients over the years that have used egg donation or have used sperm donation or have adopted as well. And those babies look like them. It's so great because when a soul is meant to be with you, it doesn't matter about the physical body. And I know it's hard for us sometimes to accept that. Maybe people that are in situations like that and that they're making that decision that, gosh, I want it to be my DNA. I don't want it to be somebody else's DNA. But maybe that's the way it's always been meant to be. And you're just trying to fight something that it's just the way it's written. And that's hard. That's really hard.
It is hard, isn't it? And it is one of those things that you think you'll never get to. You know, I'll never do IVF. Like, why would I put myself through that? The things that, yes, life take you down. Lindsay, I love this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your experiences with people that have been in this space. What's the best place to connect with you if people want to learn more about you or your offerings?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So my website, which is garnetmoonlove.com, I do have a fertility program. I do see many clients from all over the world. So definitely if you're not in my local area, I'm in the United States in Denver, Colorado, but you don't have to be local. Like I said, I see many, many people from everywhere. And energy healing and really working with you through the computer. It doesn't matter because energy doesn't have any boundaries as far as the connection. So it's just as powerful as in person. As well as social media. I also have a podcast called Fertile Frequencies that I just recently started, and it's digs all into stuff that we were talking about. Definitely a lot of emotional support. So if you're someone that needs that and really needs some inspiration, that's definitely a good resource for you. I do offer a 45-minute virtual consult that's no obligation to you, and that is something that you can book on my website. And it's really getting to know if I can help you and if you might be a good candidate for my fertility program.
Amazing. Lindsay, thank you so much. And I will link all of those up into the show notes. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you for today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I love talking about all the woo-woo stuff, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for listening right to the end here. And if you want to learn more about Lindsay and her work, you can find her website and her contacts in the show notes. Before you go today, please take a quick moment, if you can, to leave a review. Just scroll down to the bottom of the episode. You can click on a star rating and just write a little comment. I absolutely love reading all of your reviews and your feedback, and it is just such a wonderful way to help us spread the word about the podcast here as well. Now, on the next episode, we are talking about how to get out of survival mode when you're trying to conceive. This idea of regulating your nervous system seems like such a buzzword these days, but where do you even start? And especially when you're dealing with something as stressful as infertility. I hope to see you back next week for that episode, but until then, I am sending you all my wishes as you continue your own journey to fertility. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace, to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in Mind-Body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't.
The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.